Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Element and Architecture podcast. And in this episode, we are going to exploring a skyscraper. Now, I want to revisit the idea of skyscrapers because even though it is the type of architecture that really brought and introduced me into the realm of architecture, I really haven't explored too much of it on this podcast series. And so I sort of want to dive into an interesting skyscraper today in this episode. When we talk about skyscrapers, we obviously think of the highly developed world we live in today that is able to erect these tall, spectacular structures. The development that we have today is obviously inseparable from the idea of globalization, which marked the rise of China. Now, China's economic reforms of 1978, that is initiated by politician Deng Xiaoping, marked a pivotal shift from a centrally planned economy to more of a market-oriented one, giving China the opportunity for globalization and laying the groundwork for the unprecedented economic growth and modernization that China will eventually face. The series of economic reforms gave rise to special financial centers like Hong Kong, also known as the Pearl of the Orient, to a series of to operate and eventually flourish in terms of its infrastructure. The period of mass globalization is marked by optimizations in international shipping and rationalized rail and truck transport. And these key factors gave rise to the architecture of the globalized world, that is, skyscrapers. Now, hinging on this special economic opportunity, Pritzker Prize-winning architect I.M. Pei designed perhaps the most iconic and hallmark skyscraper in Chinese skyscraper or architectural history, that is, the Bank of China Tower that we will explore today. The Bank of China Tower is situated in Hong Kong, and this masterpiece was particularly known for its structure and geometry that redefined how a skyscraper should look at the time. Now, as we have talked about last time, Pei was especially influenced by the art movement of Cubism, characterized by creating forms built on the basis of simple geometric shapes, such as triangles, rectangles, squares, etc. However, although he was partially influenced by the international style, which is also characterized by these strict geometries, he is rejected for the international style, which is also characterized by its lack of decoration, and instead pushed for the idea of variation and contextual development, which we have also seen with the Suzhou Museum that he has designed. So, although I.M. Pei is regarded as a modernist architect, many of his practices involve the consideration of the time, purpose, and location in which the architecture is built in. And so within the vast variety of works by Pei, we see the clear influence of Cubism and also a bit of the international style with the strict and streamlined geometry and the extremely simplified lines and structure of buildings. However, also with an inclination towards contextual development. This very unique design philosophy by I.M. Pei is fully exemplified in his Bank of China Tower in Hong Kong. The tower itself represents not only the epitome of Pei's own unique structural approach to the form of the building, but also represents a perfect integration of structure and function that meets the needs of both the client and the urban fabric of Hong Kong. Located at the heart of Hong Kong's Central, the site required for not only a within-budget building, but also an iconic and distinctive one that would house a major banking quarter. This called for the need of a tall, distinct or dynamic structure that is able to stand under anticipated weather conditions like typhoons and strong winds. Pei was able to design a final product eventually that meets all the criteria that I've stated above. The most distinct aspect of the Bank of China Tower is in its structure and form. The square area of the building consists of 4 triangular quadrants split with crossing diagonal lines, marking the 4 triangular prisms defining its geometry. Now, the tower employs an incrementing form, starting from a square base and diminishing in area quadrant by quadrant as it goes higher, until a single triangular prism remains as part of the architecture at the top. Now, the top part of each triangular prism consists of a tilted atrium designed slanted outwards, allowing natural light to enter the building's interior, which in a highly dense city like Hong Kong is a certainly desirable functionality. We can see that the entire building is essentially incrementing simple triangular prisms, which is characteristic of Pei's design philosophy and tendencies, with the use of simple geometric shapes constituting the general form of the architecture. The general visual effect created with this building are interlocking triangular prisms slanted at angles with a crystalline appearance that eventually rise to a peak through a series of steps. Now, in a way, Pei with this architecture masterfully demonstrated that complex forms, both visually and physically, can be created with modifications to a combination of simple geometric forms. Now, to enhance this visual effect of a complex crystalline form, the facade of the Bank of China Tower is clad in reflective glass, mirroring the changing patterns, which add dynamicism to the architecture. Meanwhile, the concrete cross bracings on the facade also furthers the diamond effect the architecture embodies. The aggregation of these design elements with this architecture diverges from the conventional designs of many skyscrapers, giving the building a distinct silhouette on the Hong Kong skyline at that time. Furthermore, the idea of splitting the building into 4 triangular sections and adding a shaft to each section creates a highly innovative structural system that allows the building to withstand strong winds and remove part of the highly limited budget needed to using extra steel pipes to strengthen the structure. Here we can see how Pei was able to masterfully integrate his unique design tendencies with actually the functionality of the building that it is anticipated to have. Meanwhile, at the base of the building is pulled back from the streets to evoke a less dense urban environment that Hong Kong is especially known for, that is, being highly dense and congested. So Pei implemented various environmental features like promenade and water fountains that muffles the sound of traffic. Here we can see the contextual development here that's unique to Pei's design philosophies, with this high emphasis on environmental features under the context of a highly congested and urban landscape. In a meaningful city known as the Pearl of the Orient, symbolizing progress in the future of China, Hong Kong's place in the heart of Chinese people is deepened when this glimmering Bank of China building is erected in the Hong Kong Central. Pei's use of simple geometric forms to create complex visual effects, his high awareness of the congested urban landscape, along with the fusion with the advanced engineering that this building encompasses, which is exemplified in the Bank of China Tower, makes it a technical marvel that really enhances the Hong Kong skyline. Now, as one of the tallest and the most iconic buildings in Asia at the time of its completion, the Bank of China Tower remains a testament to Pei's ability to transcend conventional architectural boundaries, creating a landmark that is both timeless and forward-looking for Chinese people. And that is it for this episode. Now, this skyscraper, I gotta admit, is one of the most interesting skyscrapers I basically in my heart, as someone who was previously interested in architecture and still is. And so this architecture is definitely one of the most interesting skyscrapers with the most interesting designs that I have seen thus far in my architecture journey. And yeah, that is an interesting episode, and that is the end of it, and I will see you guys in the next episode of the podcast. Bye.